This morning, I'm going to ask you a question that I want you to spend some time pondering. I want you to think about this question all week. I want you to take some time each day and think about it. Now, to appreciate the significance of this question, we need to do some preparation. So first, before we get to that question, I want you to consider the following examples and what they have in common. You know, this summer, hundreds of thousands of people flocked to singer Taylor Swift's concerts as she filled stadiums across the country. And these fans, they're known as Swifties. They dress in a certain way. They dress like her. They know all her songs. I mean, I know most of her songs. They love going to her concerts. And you can see clips on YouTube how everybody in the stadium is singing. These are devoted fans who love her music. And soon, football season will start. College and pro. I watched Notre Dame play yesterday. And you will have many, many fans flocking to stadiums and TVs. And these fans, they know the history of these teams and the current players and past players. Bill, you're kind of an expert on all of this. And these fans often wear the gear, the team symbols. They're devoted. Unless, of course, you have a local football team like ours. But there's hope there. A different example. When Donald Trump was arrested in Georgia this week, WTOP kept playing this clip on the radio. One clip, it kept driving me crazy. And it was a clip of this woman who was claiming that she would wait in the Georgia heat, she would wait in the rain, she would spend any time whatsoever to see Donald Trump and to support him no matter what the charges against him. She had great devotion, great commitment to this guy. Last example. I just finished the beautiful and heartbreaking Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, Demon Copperhead. I had saved it for my vacation. And it's this incredible story about how kids in Appalachia suffered under the opioid crisis. And part of the novel describes young and old people addicted to alcohol and drugs and how they would spend their entire days doing whatever they could to get their next fix. They too demonstrated incredible devotion and energy to getting that next fix. Now, what do all these examples have in common? They all reflect different forms of devotion and allegiance. Some of them are fun, some of them are enjoyable, some of them are really dangerous and destructive. They all represent fleeting moments of transcendence, fleeting moments of meaning and joy. But none of them can offer us what devotion to Jesus offers. None of those moments can do that. Now you may say to me, well, I'm devoted to my career, to my spouse, my family, my kids, and I hope you are. But even those things just give us a glimpse, a taste of what happens when you give yourself to Christ. And our culture keeps offering us other alternatives that claim this will give you meaning, this will give you joy and happiness. But none of it can offer what Jesus can offer us. And that takes us to today's gospel. And don't worry, I will get to that question. Don't worry. But let's first look at today's gospel as Jesus and his disciples are walking through northern Galilee up to Caesarea Philippi. And as they're walking along, Jesus knows. He knows that people in Galilee are talking about him and trying to figure out, what's this guy about and who is he? And he knows his disciples are doing the same thing. he knows they can't fit him into any kind of box that would fit in a standard Jewish way. Now, the average Galilean seems to think Jesus is speaking and acting like one of the great prophets. That's the most readily available category for them. And then, when Jesus asked, "But you guys, who do you say I am?" Peter blurts out, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Peter realized that although Jesus was speaking and acting like all the prophets, he was somehow much more than a prophet. He realized he was God's anointed king. He realized that he's the king of the entire universe, and that through Jesus, God's peace and justice and freedom are coming into the world. He is our king. This is what Peter realized. You see, the disciples had watched Jesus heal people. He watched them forgive people. He watched Jesus gather Israel around and begin this renewal and reconciliation movement. Peter realized that Jesus is bringing to us what we all most desire in those fleeting glimpses of transcendence. He realized that Jesus alone is bringing to us the hope, the love, the healing, the justice and peace that we desperately need, that our world desperately needs. So here's the question, my friends. Here's the question. When you realize that Jesus Christ is the King of the cosmos, he is the one through whom God's freedom and life are coming. Here's the question. What would happen to you if you devoted yourself to Christ? What would happen to us as a parish if we really made him the center of our lives? What would happen to our lives, to our parish community, if we gave ourselves to him as the source of all truth and meaning? What if we turned to him and allowed his life to pour into ours? What would happen to you? So all week I want you to ask yourself this question, because it doesn't come with an easy answer. You won't know the answer until you give yourself to him and he starts to pour his life into you. And then surprising and amazing things will happen. So what would happen if we really start to worship him and make his will and his mission and his way of life what we devote ourselves to in the way we engage our colleagues and family and friends? What would happen? So let me conclude with a few suggestions about what might happen if you finally say, "Yes, Lord, take, Lord, and receive all that I have and possess. Devote it solely to your will." What would happen if you say that? A few suggestions in conclusion. If you devote yourself to Jesus, the leader, the king, you will have access to divine life. Not just fleeting moments of fun, but divine life. You will experience forgiveness. He may heal you. He may heal those deep wounds that you've forgotten about but still act from. If you give yourself to him, you may find your life suddenly has a clarity and a focus it never had before. If you give yourself to him, you may discover that his life starts pouring into your life. And suddenly you have a new mind and a new heart. And the way you relate to people and respond to situations is different. It's more like him and less like the way you've been formed. If you give yourself to him, you probably will have to abandon certain habits and attitudes. I'm still struggling with that. My wife calls them bachelor ways. You can see some of the other guys have heard this. Bill, you're still working on this. If you give yourself to Christ, if you devote yourself to Him, you will discover you are never alone. Because remember what He said to you, I am with you always. You will find that you're part of a community and a set of rich traditions and an institution that has wisdom and beauty that comes from Christ alone. So my friends, offer yourselves to Christ this week. Give yourself to Him. Take the risk. And you will find that He will free you and give you all kinds of gifts and abilities to share in His mission in the service of those in need. So what would happen? What would happen if you give yourself to Him? Wait and see, and let me know. Amen.